Oh, the 2000s, the millennium, Y2K, when 90s cartoons disappeared and new ones hit the airwaves. Look, I love cartoons. I love 90s cartoons especially. But a lot of the cartoons from the 2000s were really awesome. So, with that being said, grab yourself a bowl of cereal. Let's leave 2020 behind as I go through my 15 favorite cartoons from the 2000s. The Cleveland Show. Back in 2009, one of Peter Griffin's drinking pals and all-around best bud left Quahog and ended up in his own spin-off, adopting the town of Stoolbend as his new home, along with his son Cleveland Jr., where he marries an old high school flame and meets weird people along the way. Cleveland Brown, apart from Joe Swanson, is my favorite supporting character in Family Guy. So when I found out he was getting his own show, I was extremely excited. Lasting a short 4 seasons, many of the episodes were hilarious, and the characters, whether it be Rollo or Junior, added to the hilarity. Although he is now back in Quahog, Cleveland's solo outing will always be the one funny cartoon from the Family Guy lore from the 2000s. Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Originally created as a 2D animated serial entitled Star Wars: Clone Wars by Genndy Tartakovsky, creator of such classics as Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack, as a promotion on Cartoon Network to bridge the gap between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, Warner Brothers picked it back up in 2008 as a feature film, which did not fare well, until the series started that same year, and oh boy, was this series quite the ride. The evolution of Obi-Wan and Anakin, Ahsoka Tano proved an awesome character into the lore, Darth Maul's story was explored and then some, the bounty hunters were badass, and Asajj Ventress was an awesome villain. It has been recently revived for one final season on Disney+. And if you are a true Star Wars fan and have never seen this show, please do yourself a favor and check it out. The Brax Show. Okay, yes, Space Ghost Coast to Coast was a brilliant quote-unquote talk show, but when I watched it, it was always Brack and Zorak that I was interested in. And well, in 2000, Adult Swim recognized that and gave them their own absurd show. Taking place in a fictional suburban town, Brax Universe is a Leave It to Beaver-esque world. Brack lives with his mom, who looks like him, and dad, a human who has been unemployed since 1984. Zorak plays the role of Brack's best friend, who is constantly trying to get Brack to do stupid things for his own amusement. Rounding out this is their neighbor, Thundercleese, a mecha robot who cares a little too much about gardening. I honestly don't know why I love this show so much, as there was nothing really going on, but maybe that and his weirdness is why I was roped in. SpiderMan, the new animated series. I remember when this show first started in 2003. I'm a massive Spider-Man fan, even of the 1994 animated series, and when I watched this for the first episode, I was skeptical, especially with the now awesome Neil Patrick Harris voicing Spidey. But as the remainder of the series went on, I came to adore it. Animated completely in CGI, this series modernized Spider-Man and his pals for the MTV era, and to tie in with the Spider-Man films. Many of the episodes had darker tones and incorporated villains from the comics. The Kingpin, Electro, Silver Sable, Kraven, and hell, even the Lizard, whom was voiced by one of my favorite singers, Rob Motherfucking Zombie. Also had a character called Talon, who was created for the show, whom was based on the Black Cat. Cancelled after 13 episodes due to MTV not wanting to air future seasons. It's a great show that deserved better than the life it received. The Batman. The Batman debuted in 2004 on the WB, and then moved to Cartoon Network, starting with its second season. The Batman is an updated, modernized tale of the Dark Knight in Gotham City, while introducing classic and popular characters as the series progresses, as well as giving us a rabid-looking Joker. I'll be quite honest, there's nothing really special to say about this series. It's Batman. Enough said. HeMan and the Masters of the Universe. Okay, so 4 years ago, I made up a list of my favorite cartoons from the 1980s. On that list were many classic shows, which included the original Masters of the Universe, and the original version of a show that I will be talking about later on. There's not much to say about this series, as it is basically an updated version of the classic 80s series, yet with a darker, grittier, and more story-driven edge. Everyone is here. Adam aka He-Man, Battle Cat, Man-at-Arms, Teela, Orko, Stratos, Mechanic, Ram-Man, Buzz-Off, as well as our favorite villains, Skeletor, Panther, Beastman, Triclops, Evil-Lyn, Merman, Too Bad, and fuck, even Stinkor is here. Again, there's nothing much to say. It's Masters of the Universe. Only 2 seasons were produced, with the first consisting of 26 episodes and the second having 13. I honestly highly suggest checking this one out, as to this day, I love it more than the 80s version. The Boondocks. Based on a comic strip, The Boondocks premiered on Adult Swim in 2005. The show follows the antics of Riley and Huey Freeman, and their grandfather, Robert, Grandad Freeman, who is voiced by the late hilarious John Witherspoon, aka Pops, from the Friday franchise. The show is pretty much a commentary on mixed cultures and stereotypes in modern society. Huey usually tried doing what was right, albeit being very vocal about his own views and race and politics, whereas Riley was a rebel who wanted to be like the rappers and gangsters he idolized, while Grandpa, well, Granddad was always looking for love in the wrong women, or getting involved in battles with Stinkmeaner. Did I mention Uncle Ruckus? No relation? Yeah, can't really talk about him. You'll need to watch the show to know more, and if you have, well then you know what I mean. The Boondocks had 4 seasons, and it was really random. One in 2005, another in 2007, they came back in 2010, and they finalized their series in 2014. It has since been revealed that the show will return to HBO Max as a reimagining, but I will never let go of the original, especially Granddad's songs. Sing it with me now. New shoes, new shoes. Danny Phantom. Alright, so some of you might get upset with this statement, but there are only 2 Nickelodeon cartoons that grew to prominence in the new millennium that I love. The first being SpongeBob SquarePants, and the second being Danny Phantom. Sorry, I only started watching Avatar The Last Airbender recently. Don't judge me. Alright, with that being said, Danny Phantom was just so awesome. Nickelodeon brought the show onto its roster in 2004, where it lasted a total of 53 episodes over 3 seasons. We're introduced to Danny Phantom, a teenager from Amity Park, yes, that's a horror movie reference, with his overprotected sister Jazz and ghost hunting parents. Danny was living a normal life along with his friends Tucker and Sam while crushing on the popular Paulina. Upon entering his parents' ghost portal, a freak accident happens, transmutating him with the abilities to turn into a ghost. With this, Danny becomes Invisible when multiple villains, seriously, there are so many that I can't mention, attack Amity Park. most notably Vlad, who is still in love with Danny's mom and trying to corrupt Danny. A super underrated show in my opinion. Danny is still the coolest ghost around. Teen Titans! When Marv Wolfman and George Perez reimagined the Teen Titans in 1980 with the new Teen Titans, the tone shifted to darker and somewhat realistic stories. Judas Contract, anyone? With a nemesis who would stop at nothing to eliminate the team. And the comic series was so great that in 2003, the WB launched an animated series based on the team. The WB were having such success with Batman and Justice League that they decided, naturally, to give the Teenage Sidekicks their own series. The art style of Justice League was replaced for the Teen Titans in favor of a anime-esque anime style. The entire team were assembled: Robin, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Raven, and even a very toned down Starfire. And even the villains, Deathstroke, known primarily here as Slade, the Hive Academy, and Raven's pops, Trigon, just to name a few, came along to play. I mean, who can deny the awesome that was Red X? Anyways, after 5 seasons, the Titans went off the air, only to be resurrected 10 years later as the very inferior Teen Titans Go. Every once in a while, I pop in the DVDs and get a great chuckle, and I'm still captivated to this day by the storytelling. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Spawning from the show Grim and Evil, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is a show about, well, the 2 titular characters. After cheating in a game, Billy and Mandy gain the Grim Reaper as their friend. Although he does not want, and makes it clear throughout the series. Okay, I have to admit, the show is just many adventures of absurd and stupid stories, but I honestly think that's the reason that I really came to adore this show. That and because of its dark and creepy cast of characters. But at the very same time, it's ridiculous and over-the-top humor. I mean, it lasted 6 seasons, plus the segments previously on Grim and Evil, which in total come to 9 seasons, basically. Wow. How a show with the Jamaican-voiced Grim Reaper lasted that long is beyond me. But it was hilarious. Well, we all get that one stupid show we enjoyed. This was mine. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, if you were paying attention, earlier I mentioned that I made a list 4 years ago of my favorite 80s cartoons, where I mentioned that HeMan and another cartoon to be mentioned would appear, and so here we are. Apart from the previous darker updates on this list, this one has to be the darkest. The original 80s cartoon was an overly successful series, yet took liberties with the original source material to appeal more to younger children, whereas this series took a lot from the original comic book series, all the while still keeping the show kid-friendly. From Splinter and the Shredder's backstories, to the inclusion of Hun and the Purple Dragons, and even Casey Jones, the world and stories painted were everything fans of the original comic book and show wanted, and more. I mean, April O'Neil even had similarities to her comic book counterpart. Look, what can I say about the Ninja Turtles that you don't already know? If you love the original comic books and want to see it in animation format, this is the closest and this is the show for you. And will definitely always be one of my favorite cartoons I have ever watched. The Spectacular Spider-Man. Yes, we all know Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, period. I promise this is the last time you see Spidey on my list. Created by Greg Weisman of Gargoyles fame in 2008, and taking the title from Peter Parker's secondary comic book series, the show is yet another update about our favorite webhead trying to get through high school, while balancing superheroes and hiding his secret identity from his loved ones. The reason why this one is placed where it is on my list is just simply put because the show is fantastic. The storytelling was captivating. The writers seemed to really understand the characters. I believe that more seasons were planned as the show focused more on the relationship between Peter and Gwen rather than Peter and MJ. During the second season, there was a huge focus on Shakespeare. I also love the art style, which was provided by Sean Cheeks Galloway, whom I remember my cousin Andrew introducing him to me. The characters are just so beautiful to look at, combining the perfect blend of cartoon and comic book. I mean, just take a look at Rhino and Venom. I also have to give kudos to the voice actors, as everyone did such a great job, especially Freddy Krueger himself voicing Adrian Toomes, the Vulture. Unfortunately, Spectacular Spider-Man, as I mentioned, ended after 2 seasons, consisting of 26 episodes total, but is still a huge fan favorite. 6 or so years after ending, a complete series DVD and Blu-ray set were released. If you're looking for a great Spider-Man series, look no further than here, as this would be the last great Spider-Man series provided to us. Phineas and Ferb. There are 104 days of summer vacation, for school comes along just to end it. The annual problem of our generation is finding a good way to spend it. Well, in this series, Phineas and Ferb found a way to make every day of summer memorable. From creating a roller coaster, to using a time machine, penning a song about aglets, to becoming world-famous fashion icons all in one day. Always running behind them, looking for an opportunity to tattle on them, is their sister Candace, who always comes up short in getting her brothers in trouble. Besides our boy's main story, we have Perry the Platypus, aka Agent P, who is, well, a platypus and secret agent working for the OWCA under the guidance of Major Monogram. Agent P is constantly sent to foil the plans of his nemesis Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who is constantly trying to rule the tri-state area with his weekly in-ater machines, which the majority of the time clashes with Phineas and Ferb's creations, destroying both before Candace can make her brothers or Dr. D achieving success. There's a lot of talk about this show, like, for example, how the creators used to work on Rocko's Modern Life and Family Guy, and that the show started in 2007, as it lasted until 2015, with 2 movies and a spin-off show. I honestly don't think when I first saw this show that I would think it was as funny as it was, but I do really highly recommend it to anyone. Even if you have Disney Plus, please go check it out. A show close to my heart, Phineas and Ferb will always be one of the best. Archer. Yep, I know that Archer's popularity soared in the 2010s, but it all started at the tail end of the Double Knots, so therefore I can include this on my list. The show follows a team of mismatched secret government workers and their over-the-top antics. We have the head of the agency, Mallory Archer, the accountant, who is always the butt of the joke, Cyril Figgis, the even dumber and constantly high-off-glue secretary, Cheryl Carol Tunt, the HR rep, whom is the least qualified for her role, Pam Poovey, the quote-unquote cyborg, Ray Gillette, the mad and oddball scientist with a hologram wife, Dr. Krieger, and our 2 head special agents, the overqualified, ball-busting Lana Kane, and the main character who is the biggest oddball, yet always somehow gets the job done, Sterling Archer. In the beginning, the team started off as their own company, with a name I will not mention, and butted heads with rival organizations Odin and the KGB. Throughout the show, we follow Archer and Lana on various missions, some successful, some failures, and nothing but hilarity. 2 of Archer's ongoing storylines are the will they, won't they relationship between he and Lana, and as well as his rivalry with nemesis Barry, who is an actual cyborg. But he has Archer to thank for that. I don't want to go into too much detail about the series, as it is still going on strong today, and I honestly think it's one of the best shows on TV. And as it is heading into its 11th season on FX, if you can, get your jazz hands out and give it a watch. Just don't spill anything while doing so. Because do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants. Robot Chicken. I can't believe that Robot Chicken has already been around for 15 years. I mean, I was basically still a teenager when it first hit television. I remember when the show first started. Before YouTube, there were different websites for hilarious videos. Whether it was Newgrounds, Funny Junk, Hamster Dance, or Homestar Runner. Yeah, thanks Tony for making me a lifelong fan. And that is how I was introduced to Robot Chicken. Now, I can't exactly recall which website it was, but a year after it hit TV on Teletoon at night, and that is when I got addicted. It's just so random. You think Family Guy's custings are ridiculous? Well, amp it up to 100 with Robot Chicken. The show came to be due to the popularity of Toy Fair magazine's Twisted Toy Fair Theater segment, which took classic Mego figures, placed them in Megoville, and gave them outlandish situations. The head writers of Toy Fair, Matt Senreich, Doug Goldstein, and Tom Root, brought this idea along with the awesome Seth Green to Adult Swim and was picked up in 2005. There's no story for the show, like, at all, guys. The concept is just basically spoofing anything and everything, from anime to pop culture to video games. Robot Chicken take their shots. The only consistency of the show is the opening segment, which made its way into a segment on the 100th episode of the mad scientist constantly finding new ways of making a chicken a robot and forcing it to watch the skits. The other consistency is the aliens, the bloopers host who always offs himself, Gummy Bear, Munson and Gyro Robo, the unicorn who is quite friskier than most, the attorney and dentist Molar, Composite Santa, yeah, don't ask, the nerd who wishes he was everything, the humping robot, which is self-explanatory, and my personal favorite, Blam! Y'all get a piece of the bitch pudding. Over its 15-year run, the show produced some Christmas specials, Star Wars specials, DC Comics specials, and even a Walking Dead special. My only pet peeve with Robot Chicken is that there aren't enough merchandise to go around. And in my area, the DVDs are not very easy to come by, although I have found a couple. To this day, I still quote lines from the series and never get tired of watching it over and over and over again. This is my absolute favorite show from the 2000s, and as I mentioned, it is still going strong today. Well, that's my list. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with my choices, or if there are any cartoons from the 2000s that you like that I didn't mention. Don't forget to take out your thumb and raise it for this video. Don't be shy to show me some support by subscribing to my channel. And punch that bell for the latest notifications from my channel. This is my last video for 2020. Thank you for constantly supporting my channel. I hope you're having a happy holidays. Have a happy new year. And as always, it's cool if it's nerd cool. Peace!